Welcome to Whispers and Confessions. There might be a twist waiting, so please make sure to watch until the end. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Let's begin right away.
Despite my protests, the section chief forcefully kissed me a second time. As he breathed softly on my neck, I felt my entire body go weak. Realizing I couldn't resist, he gently pushed me down onto the sofa. "We can't, not here," I whispered, but I found myself unable to resist. Against my better judgment, I chose to give in to his embrace. "My name is Melissa, and I'm 53 years old. I've been working as a temp at this company for 5 years now. I got married when I was 28 to a man who was incredibly kind and hardworking, my ideal partner. When I turned 30, we bought a slightly larger house, thinking we'd start a family soon. Unfortunately, we were never able to have children. Then, 5 years ago, my husband suddenly passed away in an accident. Even now, I find myself crying when I think of him. My friends often tell me, you should find a new boyfriend at work and remarry quickly. It's true that being alone at this age can be lonely. The emptiness is especially palpable in our big house. During those moments, I always clasp my hands in front of my husband's photo and pray, "Honey, I'm so lonely. Please give me strength." It was a Friday before the weekend when it happened. During lunch break, as I passed the department manager in the hallway, he said, "Melissa, here," and handed me a small note. The note read, "Would you like to have dinner tomorrow night? Please let me know," along with his social media account. Could this be a date invitation? The department manager is a busy 48-year-old bachelor who, I've heard, was quite popular in his younger days. Even now, in his early 50s, he's still quite handsome and popular among the female staff. The fact that someone like him was asking me out, I couldn't help but feel a little excited as I replied to his message. "Dinner invitation? Is this for real?" His response came almost immediately. "I've been wanting to have dinner with you, Melissa, even if it's just once." It really was a date invitation. Could this be an answer to my prayers? With a mix of nervousness and anticipation, I agreed to the date for tomorrow. Just before quitting time that day, the section chief suddenly asked me to work overtime. "Melissa, I'm sorry. The data entry isn't finished yet. Could you help out?" I had nothing to do at home anyway, so I agreed to stay late. We finished inputting everything into the computer around 9 p.m. By then, only the section chief and I remained in the office. "Thank you, Melissa. Thanks to you, I didn't have to pull an all-nighter," he said gratefully. I replied, "I'm glad I could help. It's not like I had anything else to do at home." At this point, my mind was already preoccupied with thoughts of tomorrow's date with the department manager. The section chief must have noticed something because he asked, "Melissa, did something good happen? You look particularly cheerful today." I must have been smiling without realizing it, thinking about tomorrow's date. The section chief pressed further, "Do you perhaps have a date tomorrow?" I hastily denied it. No, absolutely not. But my overly strong denial probably made me seem even more suspicious. He asked again, "Melissa, do you currently have a boyfriend?" I answered honestly, "No, I don't. Really, I don't." Then the section chief said, "Well, that might change depending on how your date goes tomorrow. To tell you the truth, I've been waiting for a chance to be alone with you for a long time." As he said this, the section chief moved closer to me. "Melissa, would you be my girlfriend?" I was shocked by his sudden confession. Don't joke around. I'm 53 years old. There's a 15-year age gap between us. Despite my protests, the section chief forcefully pulled me in for a kiss. "We can't, not here." The truth is, I'm very inexperienced when it comes to romance. I hadn't known any man other than my late husband. I'd never even kissed anyone else. So when this suddenly happened, my mind was in chaos. My partner was 15 years younger than me. I tried not to let my conflicting emotions show as I said, "Please stop," as if scolding a young man. But inside, I was already a mess. The shock of the sudden confession, the embarrassment of being with a younger man, and the excitement of experiencing a kiss after 5 years were all mixed together. The section chief kissed me forcefully again, his tongue intertwining with mine. As he breathed softly on my neck, I felt my entire body go weak. Realizing I couldn't resist, he gently pushed me down onto the sofa. "We can't, not here," I whispered, but I found myself unable to resist any longer. Despite my better judgment, I chose to give in to his embrace. "I like you. Will you be my girlfriend?" he whispered in my ear. Wordlessly, I nodded. In less than 10 minutes after his confession, I had accepted him. When I returned home, I immediately clasped my hands in front of my late husband's photo. "Honey, I'm sorry, I reported the night's events. Today, for the first time, I was embraced by a man other than you. But having a boyfriend has given me a little boost of energy." The next day, I went to the restaurant where I had agreed to meet the department manager. "This isn't a date," I told myself. "It's just dinner with a colleague." After all, I already had a boyfriend now. But the dinner with the department manager was so enjoyable that time flew by. The department manager was not only handsome, but also had a wonderful personality. By this time, I had already forgotten about the section chief. As we left the restaurant, I stumbled slightly. "I'm sorry. I think I had too much wine," I apologized. The department manager asked with concern, "Are you all right, Melissa? My apartment is nearby. Would you like to rest there for a while?" Even with my limited dating experience, I knew what it meant to go to a single man's apartment at night. But at that moment, I convinced myself that I was just going to rest until the effects of the alcohol wore off. Once inside, I drank some water, and the dizziness subsided a bit. That's when the department manager spoke up. "Melissa, there's something I've been wanting to tell you." Hearing this, I was startled. Surely not another confession, not 2 nights in a row. "I like you. Would you go out with me?" It was indeed a confession from the department manager. But I already had a boyfriend, even if it had only been for a day. I should refuse. However, as I met the handsome department manager's gaze, I found myself nodding silently once again. And just like the night before, as he claimed my lips, my mind went blank and my body went weak. In less than 10 minutes after his confession, I had accepted the department manager as well. The next morning, I was consumed by intense self-loathing. In 2 days, I had received confessions from 2 men and given myself to both of them. When had I become such an immoral woman? The guilt weighed heavily on me, but beneath it, there was an undeniable excitement. Part of me felt alive in a way I hadn't in years, while another part was disgusted by my own actions. I found myself torn between the thrill of feeling desired and the shame of my infidelity, not just to my late husband's memory, but to the 2 men who had confessed to me. I clasped my hands in front of my late husband's photo and asked, "Honey, please tell me. Is this happening because I said I was lonely? Are you telling me to find a new partner because I've been feeling so alone?" Despite the guilt, I felt incredibly energized over the past 2 days. I've always had a habit of going shopping when I felt depressed or upset, buying expensive items to relieve stress. On this particular day, I went to the department store and bought a luxury handbag. Then, in the basement food hall, I filled my cart with gourmet items far pricier than what I'd usually buy at the supermarket. As I was browsing, I heard someone call out, "Melissa." I turned around to see the director standing there. "What a coincidence to meet you here. Are you shopping for dinner ingredients? Are you here alone too, sir?" I asked, surprised to see him outside of work. "Yes. Living alone as a man isn't easy, you know," he replied with a smile. I couldn't help but notice how handsome he looked in casual clothes. I'd only ever seen him in suits at the office. Before I could stop myself, I heard myself saying, "If you'd like, would you care to join me for dinner at my place?" I seemed to have bought too much food for just one person. And just like that, I had invited the director to my home. At my apartment, I laid out the food I'd bought. The director exclaimed, "Wow, this is delicious. I'm so lucky to be able to enjoy Melissa's cooking." I felt a blush creep up my cheeks as I replied, "Oh, it's nothing special. I just arranged the food I bought." He leaned in closer, his voice low and warm. "You know, a meal's taste depends on who you're sharing it with." As he said this, the director sat down next to me and put his arm around my shoulders. My heart began to race as he continued, "I've liked you for a long time, Melissa. I've always wanted to have dinner with you like this, to live together with you." It was another confession from a man, the third in as many days. But I had already accepted the section chief's confession yesterday and the department manager's the day before. Not just confessions, I had already been intimate with both of them. This couldn't be happening. I tried to protest. I have someone I like. The director's eyes widened. Oh, who's the lucky man? I couldn't possibly tell him it was the section chief and the department manager. Unable to answer, I turned my face away silently. The director's gaze followed mine, landing on the photo of my late husband. I see. You still can't forget your late husband, can you? He said softly, misunderstanding my silence. Yes. I still can't forget him. I found myself agreeing unconsciously, relief washing over me at the convenient excuse. I understand, the director said gently. But you know, if you keep being sad, your husband in heaven will worry about you. Don't you think it might be time to find a new partner? As he spoke, he leaned in and kissed me. My mind went blank, and I didn't know how to react. When his hand gently caressed my lower body, I felt all strength leave me. And just like that, for the third consecutive day, I found myself in the arms of a different man. As I lay in the director's embrace, my eyes fell on my husband's photo. I convinced myself that this was my late husband's way of helping me recover from my loneliness, guiding me towards happiness again. This is how I ended up dating 3 colleagues from work simultaneously. At the office, I'm extremely careful not to let anyone suspect anything, especially the 3 men involved. I've become quite adept at juggling my dating schedule. I've started to view this situation as a gift from my husband in heaven, seeing how lonely I had been. For the first time in my life, I feel popular and desired, and part of me wants to enjoy this feeling a little longer. However, I can't help but wonder what would happen if everything came to light. Sometimes I fantasize about all 4 of us living together in my spacious house, taking turns each night, or even all 3 at once. These thoughts both excite and terrify me, leaving me in a constant state of emotional turmoil.